DeFi terms and concepts course number 3.
Welcome back. In this video, we're going to build a solid foundation and understanding of vocabulary and key concepts. DeFi, and especially concentrated liquidity, comes with a lot of jargon. You don't have to memorize every single term, but you do need a basic mental model so that when you see these words and explore Bitflow, you know what's going on. And if it all seems like too much, remember that you can always reference these terms in the resources linked with the video. All right, let's jump right in. So the first term is AMM, which stands for Automated Market Maker. In traditional finance, you need a market maker to quote you prices. A human or an algorithm says that I'll buy at this price and I'll sell at that price. In DeFi, an AMM is a smart contract that takes over that job. So instead of matching buyers and sellers directly, you trade against a pool of tokens that's managed by a pricing formula. So when you hear AMM, you can think a smart contract powered liquidity pool that sets prices automatically and lets you swap one token for another. Traditional AMMs spread liquidity across all prices from basically 0 to infinity, and HODL is still an AMM, but it is a concentrated liquidity AMM, which means it focuses liquidity into specific price ranges instead of wasting it across the entire price spectrum. Next up is APR, or annual percentage rate. When you provide liquidity to a pool, you earn trading fees. And protocols often show you an APR to give you a sense of the yearly return on that position from fees without accounting for compounding. So if you see 20% APR, that means if things stayed exactly as they are now for a full year, your position will earn about 20% in fees. In reality, volume and fees change over time, so it's just an estimate, not a guarantee. Now let's talk about something that's specific to HODL, and that is bins. In a HODL pool, price is cut up into lots of tiny slices called bins. A bin is simply a container that holds liquidity at one fixed price point in a concentrated liquidity pool. Instead of one smooth curve, you have stacks of these bins at different prices. A few key ideas here. The active bin is the bin where the current market price is sitting. That's where the swaps are actually happening right now. It's also the only bin that can hold both tokens at the same time. The bin step is the price difference between consecutive bins, usually measured in basis points. A larger bin step means each bin covers a wider price range and you need fewer bins. A smaller bin step means you can concentrate liquidity more precisely around a narrow price band. The base fee is the minimum fee charged on every swap in that pool, and it's paid to liquidity providers. Pools with very small bin steps often have lower base fees because trades are happening in more tightly defined price ranges. We'll spend more time looking at bins visually in later videos, but for now, you can think that bins equal price slices and the active bin equals where the action is happening. Now we'll talk about a DEX, which stands for Decentralized Exchange. A DEX is a trading platform that runs on smart contracts instead of a centralized company. You connect your wallet, you keep control of your funds, and trade directly on-chain using liquidity pools instead of an order book with a company in the middle. So when you hear DEX, you can think an on-chain exchange where I trade straight from my wallet using smart contracts and liquidity pools. Now we'll talk about DEX aggregators, which is what Bitflow is. Bitflow doesn't just talk to one DEX. It's a DEX aggregator, which means that it connects multiple decentralized exchanges and liquidity pools on the Stacks blockchain. When you do a swap on Bitflow, the aggregator scans different DEXs and liquidity sources, finds the best available prices and routes for your trade, and splits your order across several pools if that gets you a better overall rate. So a DEX aggregator is essentially a smart router that sits on top of multiple DEXs and works to give you the best execution it can for your swap. Next is fee over TVL, and this is a metric that shows how much fee revenue a pool is generating relative to the total liquidity inside. TVL is total value locked, basically the size of the pool, and fees are what traders pay to swap through that pool. So fee over TVL asks, how hard is this liquidity working? A higher fee over TVL usually means more efficient earnings for liquidity providers. Often you'll see this shown as a 7-day or a 30-day average to show real historical performance. Next is a big one. This is impermanent loss, often shortened to IL. Impermanent loss is the difference in value between what your liquidity position is worth now and what you would have had if you had just held the original tokens in your wallet and never engaged in the practice of LPing. It happens when the price ratio between the two tokens you deposited changes. The reason it's called impermanent is that as long as you keep your liquidity in the pool, that loss can shrink or even disappear if prices move back. The loss becomes permanent the moment you withdraw your liquidity at that unfavorable price. So the goal as an LP is to earn enough trading fees to offset or outpace any impermanent loss over time. Next, let's define liquid asset and liquidity. A liquid asset is something you can easily and quickly sell or trade for cash without moving the price too much. Stocks in a major index are liquid. Large cap cryptocurrencies are generally considered liquid as well. Liquidity refers to how easily and efficiently that asset can be traded. In DeFi, when we say a pool has good liquidity, we mean there's enough depth in the pool, you can do reasonably sized trades, and you don't cause huge price swings or pay a ton of slippage. Liquidity is provided by market makers, in this context by LPs like you. A liquidity pool is the core building block of an AMM. It's a collection of two or more cryptocurrencies locked in a smart contract. Traders swap tokens in and out of that pool, and every time a trade goes through the pool, the trader pays fees, and those fees are distributed to the liquidity providers who deposited tokens into that pool. That fee revenue is often called organic yield because it comes from real trading activities, not like emissions or other incentives. So when you hear liquidity pool, think a shared pot of tokens that powers swaps and earn fees for the people who filled the pot. Next is LP. So you'll see the word LP used in several different ways. This could be liquidity provider, the person or entity providing liquidity to a pool. You might also see liquidity pool. Sometimes people just say LP when they mean the pool. And you'll also see the word LPing, as I just mentioned earlier, as a verb meaning providing liquidity. In the series, when I say LPs, I'll mostly mean liquidity providers, the people supplying assets to the pool. LP tokens, liquidity provider tokens. When you add liquidity to a pool, the protocol gives you something in return, LP tokens. These LP tokens represent your share of the pool. They usually do not increase in quantity over time. Instead, the value they represent grows as the pool earns trading fees. You can think of LP tokens as a receipt or a claim on your portion of the pool. When you withdraw your liquidity, you hand the receipt back, and the protocol gives you your underlying assets plus any fees that have accrued to your share. Next term is market cap, often written as MC or MCAP. Market cap is simply the price per token times the number of tokens in circulation. It's usually shown in US dollars and gives you a rough sense of how big a token is. A low market cap token is generally easier to move with a single trade, and a very high market cap token is usually more stable and harder to move. Next is market makers. Market makers are entities that provide liquidity to markets in exchange for earning small profits on many trades. In traditional finance, they profit from spreads, the difference between the buy and the sell price. In DeFi, market makers earn fees whenever someone trades through the pool that they've supplied liquidity to. So as an LP on Bitflow, you are essentially acting as a market maker in a decentralized system. Next up is price impact, which is the effect your trade has on the price of the token you're trading. If a pool is shallow or the token has a low market cap, then even a modest-sized trade can shift the price a lot. That's high price impact. If a pool is deep and the token is large and liquid, the same trade will barely move the price, and that's low price impact. Most DEXs, including Bitflow, will show you expected price impact before you confirm a swap, so you can decide whether that trade is worth it. If there's enough liquidity within a price bin, Bitflow will show a 0% price impact notice. Next is position. So when we say your position in HODL, we mean your active liquidity deployment. And that includes which pool you're in, which bins and price range you've chosen, how much liquidity you've provided, and the current value of your tokens and any fees you've earned. You can think of a position as a specific configuration of liquidity with its own range, size, and performance. Next is price range. In concentrated liquidity, your price range is the span between your lowest bin and your highest bin. Your liquidity is only active and only earning fees when the market price is inside that range. If the price moves outside of your range, your position can become fully one-sided in a single token, and you stop earning fees until the price moves back in range or you adjust your position. So choosing a price range is one of the most important decisions you make as an LP. Next, we'll talk about swaps. A swap is just DeFi language for a trade. So you're swapping one token for another, for example, swapping a stablecoin into SBTC or swapping STX into another stablecoin, or trading between any two supported assets. On Bitflow, every swap goes through one or more liquidity pools and generates fees for the LPs in the pools. Now, slippage is the difference between the price you see when you submit your transaction and the price you actually get when the transaction is executed on-chain. Because blockchains are not instant and other trades can be included before yours, the final execution price can move a bit between the moment you click swap and the moment your transaction confirms. Most DEXs let you set a maximum slippage tolerance. If the price moves more than that tolerance while your transaction is pending, the trade will fail instead of filling at a much worse price. Price impact is related but different. While slippage comes from market movement while you wait, price impact is how much your own trade moves the price. The larger your trade relative to the pool's liquidity, the more you push the price against yourself. In traditional AMMs, every trade, no matter how small, has some price impact because the price moves along a curve. This is an important distinction. Slippage is external, other activity. Price impact is internal, your trade size. The important thing to remember is that you only know your real slippage after the transaction is complete. Before confirmation, the interface can show you an estimate, but the final price is only locked in once the trade is actually mined on-chain. In HODL slippage is tightly connected to bins and bin steps. So each bin has a single fixed price. And when a swap is small enough to be filled entirely inside one bin, and there's enough liquidity in that bin, the trade executes at that exact bin price with zero price impact inside the bin. Price impact appears when a trade is large enough to cross multiple bins because each bin sits at a slightly different price level. So in summary, slippage is the gap between your expected price and the final execution price. It's only truly known after the transaction confirms, and in HODL trades within the active bin execute with zero price impact. Higher slippage only appears when trades are large enough to cross into additional bins. This is why HODL can offer better rates than traditional AMMs. Trading fees are what traders pay when they swap tokens through a pool. In HODL, you only earn fees in the bins where you actually have liquidity and only when trades are happening inside those bins. So the more trading volume that passes through the bins you're in, the more fees you collect. Fees are the primary way LPs earn yield from a pool. TVL, as mentioned before, is total value locked, and it is the total amount of value in a pool, a protocol, and sometimes an entire blockchain, measured at current prices, usually in US dollars. TVL is a rough indicator of how much capital is participating, how deep that liquidity is, and how established or trusted a protocol might be. Higher TVL doesn't automatically mean better, but it often means more depth and lower price impact for traders. Volume is the amount of trading that happens over a certain period of time. So in DEXs, it's usually measured as total value of swaps in the last 24 hours, 7 days, or 30 days. Higher volume is good for LPs because more trades equals more fees, as long as your liquidity is in the right bins and in range. Volume and TVL together tell you a lot about how busy and efficient a pool is. And finally, volatility. Volatility measures how much the price of a token moves up and down over a given period of time. A highly volatile token has big, frequent price swings. A low volatility token has smoother and smaller moves. As an LP, volatility cuts both ways. It can create more trading volume and more fees, but it can also create more impermanent loss as prices move away from your entry. So part of your job as an LP is choosing pools and ranges that match your comfort level with volatility. All right, that was a lot of vocabulary and concepts, but these terms and ideas are going to keep showing up throughout the series and inside the Bitflow interface. You don't have to memorize everything just yet. And if you want to go deeper, you'll find a comprehensive glossary of all of these definitions and ideas in the resources linked with this video. In the next video, we're going to move from terminology and concepts into the actual mechanics, how HODL works under the hood, and why concentrated liquidity can be more powerful than traditional AMMs. I'll see you there.
The #1 place to learn, earn, and hodl. The BFF.Army.